buy yourself a gun. What? Gun? Oh. What? Like a handgun for personal protection. If somebody tries to mug you. What? What if your government tries to throw you in a can? What? You're gonna want a shotgun. Oh. What? Or an automatic rifle and a lot of ammo. Gun? Yeah, gun.
We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They'll burn you out like a Waco. They'll stick your ass in a camp. Jackbooted cops in riot gear, gonna kick your ass and laugh. The revolution is on its way. Better lock and load your AK. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. We're all set to riot. Buy a gun before you lose your Second Amendment. Buy a gun. They gave your money to the banksters. They stole your pension funds. It's time that we took to the streets. It's time we had our turn. A revolution is on its way, and the founding fathers would say, buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. Buy a gun, 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 buy a gun before you wish you bought a gun. You gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta riot in the streets. Revolution's not clean and neat. You gotta drag them through the streets.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday. We are live. This is PrimerTime on UCY.tv, your home for everything that you need. My name is Michael, and I did not shoot any gorilla.
My name is Nicholas, and neither did I.
We are gorilla-free. This is the gorilla-free episode tonight, and so let's hit it right off. Okay, so this is the weekend after Memorial Day, and Memorial Day in the United States has now become really like a day to barbecue and not actually pay attention to what the meaning behind the holiday is. You know, we salute all those who have served hot breakfast.
Yeah, if you go to a Days Inn, that's for sure.
Right. So it's now become that, and at the same time that that holidays tend to happen, we got to go to the Windy City, and the Windy City is not the happiest place on the face of the earth, and this is Memorial Day, the start of summer, and it's going to be a hot one in Chicago because it kicks off with 69 shootings and 8 deaths.
So now, what I would really like to know, out of those 8 deaths, what would be the demographic profile of those?
That is not allowed to be talked about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Apparently, I was thinking that certain lives matter.
No, and those lives do not matter because those lives were not taken by the appropriate color lives. But what does matter is the monkey was shot,
or police for that matter.
Police don't count either. All we care about in this country is that the monkey got shot.
So yeah, this is an interesting situation. You've had people, including America's favorite naturalist, Jack Hanna, who's even gone on to say that the zoo personnel that were involved in basically killing the gorilla, whose name was Harambe, is a Lowland gorilla, said that they did not act out of
Lowland. Hell yeah, he's 6 foot under. That's pretty damn low.
Yeah, well, they did not act out of an overabundance of caution. They followed strict protocols and guidelines and did the right thing. And I say, if you got Jack Hanna in your corner, fuck everybody else.
Well, you know, I look. It's a great big silverback gorilla, and you know, it's an animal. That's all you got to say.
Whoa! You got to remember,
that's right.
Certain segments of this population would consider that to be a microaggression.
That's pretty much what I'm trying to do, is microaggress my way all over the place. Yeah, Welcome to the social Marxism, where you cannot say anything to anybody about anything unless it's been approved.
Yeah. Well, that's why folks need a safe space, is because it's to protect them from ideas and or speech that could be considered hateful, hurtful, or otherwise basically inconveniencing to the person.
Triggering.
Triggering. That's right. Yes. So now the interesting thing is that you have a gorilla killed, and you have a human's life who was spared. Now, there's always going to be some debate as to whether or not the gorilla had intended to cause harm to the individual. Personally, I think we shot the wrong person. I think we should have shot the mother, because
you know what? I'm not going to say shoot the mother, because look, kids do shit. All right. I mean, the little kid apparently already wanted to jump into the monkey cage, or the monkey enclosure, or whatever you're going to call it. The kid already had tried that. And
so where was the mother in taking the kid away from the situation? I mean, let's just break this down sequence by sequence. Kid says he wants to jump into the monkey enclosure or to the gorilla enclosure. Mom says no.
And then mom takes a selfie.
Exactly. Turns her back on the kid, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Kid does what kids do and takes his moment of opportunity, right?
That's right.
Okay. Parent fail number one right there. Because you already have a child who's challenged your authority in doing what he wants to do, vice what you told him to do. Parents should have removed the child at that point. Think back to the time when you were a kid. I know it's like ancient history, but
shut up about that.
I know. Well, Michael, they invented the phrase "spare the rod and spoil the child" for you and me. So,
dude, I mean, spare the wiffle ball bat and spoil the child.
Spare the leather belt with the 3-inch buckle. got those a couple times, but yeah. So mom goes ahead and takes a self portrait, digital wise, and turns her back on a kid who's otherwise inclined to jump into the gorilla enclosure. Yeah.
And honestly, kind of shit happens all the time. How many kids a year die in swimming pools from the exact same thing?
Right. And you know, the funny thing is those parents who have kids who die in swimming pools actually get prosecuted. They get prosecuted because we have laws that mandate that you will put barriers up around the pools. If you go to somebody's house in California and they have a pool, guess how high of a fence they have around the pool?
I think in California it's a 5-foot fence around the pool.
It's a 6-foot fence.
A 6-foot fence around the pool.
6-foot fence. Most privacy fences are between 6 and 8 feet high.
My backyard fence is a 6-footer, and I think that's a little bit of overkill. Well, but you know, whatever. I don't California.
Right? So you know, the bottom line is this: is that once again, you've got certain segments of the population that want to remove individual responsibility and not put blame where it rightfully belongs, and want to shift blame and say we're going to make up for the individual's inability to function as a thoughtful adult, and we're going to go ahead and place blame elsewhere. I mean, you pick the headline, that's the result.
And that's really kind of along this path of social Marxism that this country is falling into. Remove the responsibility from the individual and place the onus on the state, making the person beholden to the state, 100% reliant on the state. Would you like the state to cut your hot dog into little pieces so you don't choke on it? Would you like the state to with your zipper after you go pee? I mean, what else do you need?
They're going to put the enclosure around your coffee cup so you don't spill your coffee and burn yourself.
You know, I don't know, and I mean, and it's to the point where something like this that's really in the end, shit happens, man. Little kids do things, and honestly, it's an animal, and that, you know, I'm not advocating any sort of like random animal shooting or animal abuse or anything, but in the end, it's like a dog.
Well, the funny thing is that this happens in Ohio, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I believe so.
So
Another problem with the states with 4 letters in it.
yeah, this is not the first time something out of the ordinary, considering basically wild animals in the state of Ohio occurred. 2011, 49 out of 56 animals that were released from a wild animal preserve in Zanesville, Ohio, had to be euthanized after the basically the gamekeeper offed himself. So this is not something that wild animals' lives don't matter in Ohio.
Well, and not too far from Ohio is Illinois, and we can see that Black lives do not matter in Illinois because, and especially in the city of Chicago, because you keep shooting each other.
Well, we call that an inconvenient truth.
And an unfortunate truth and a racist truth and a truth you can't talk about. Welcome to the gulag.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think it's the gulag yet, because at least in the gulag you get some kind of work done. We don't even have.
Yeah, we don't get no work.
Yeah, we don't get work done around here. We just, we're
Right.
no longer the nation of innovators. We're the nation of consumers. So yeah,
And soon we won't have enough money to be the nation of consumers. We will be the nation of fast food attendees. One nation under God, indivisible, with the choice of regular or curly fries for all.
Well, the only problem with that is the $15 an hour crowd, much of who tend to have a D next to their name in legislatures across the country that are pushing for the $15 minimum wage, have really caused some controversy in the last couple of weeks regarding companies like McDonald's and Wendy's. And that happens to do with the CEOs coming out and saying that the $15 an hour minimum wage crowd has pushed their hand and forced their hand into the decision to begin implementing the use of droids or bots for kiosks and attendants at fast food restaurants.
You have been replaced by a touchscreen.
Yep. And not only that, OCP will start operating in Detroit fairly soon.
Yeah, the Delta City construction project is currently underway, and don't you worry. Yeah, and with the electronic cashiers, the scanner things, one industry you won't ever see that is at a gun shop.
Yeah, that is unless they're going to be doing the videotape recording of transactions. That will become automated.
Well, now that you brought that up, let's look at California, because this has been something that we've talked about in the past couple of weeks. California's got some fairly draconian bills coming in, and I believe that at one time there were 9 fairly draconian bills, and now 4 of them are going to Governor Gavin Newsom's desk.
Well, Gavin Newsom is not the governor. Let's get that right.
I'm sorry,
Jerry Brown
Lieutenant Governor. They're at the lieutenant governor's desk, I guess, getting ready to be passed to the governor at this point.
Well, the Appropriations Committee has passed 4 of 5 gun bills, so there's still floor votes that have to come by. So that the assembly and the legislative process in California is still working these. But the bills that passed were Assembly Bill 1664, which will ban all firearms with a bullet button. So read. Any modern sporting rifle in the state of California will become illegal if Assembly Bill 1664 passes.
Okay, let's discuss what the bullet button is again, real quick.
Bullet
button is a device that's been added to the magazine well by state law. This is a mandated device that's been, I guess, it's been mandated for the last 15 years in California, I believe. And what that is it takes a tool of some sort, whether it's a key or a hunk of metal. A lot of people use a bullet tip, hence the name of bullet button. You have to unlock the magazine to remove the magazine to insert a new one. So it's something to delay your rapidness, your speed of firing. That's no longer good enough anymore.
Right. So like Michael said, this is something that has already been instituted in the state of California in terms of making it another additional step in order to reload a modern sporting rifle or an AR series rifle. Basically, they're going to say that by definition, all of those rifles will become illegal in the state. Then you have Assembly Bill 1673, which will criminalize the possession of unserialized firearm parts. So what this means, and without any kind of legal wrangling, this means that any firearm part, whether it is considered the actual firearm, such as a lower receiver on an AR-15, or the rifle itself, if it was a bolt-action gun, that would mean a firing pin, a spring, a sear, a trigger, anything that does not have a serial number on it, or a part that is manufactured for personal use, which is currently allowed under federal law, will be illegal in the state to possess in California.
Yeah, California, we're voting for earthquake.
Yeah. So going on to the next Assembly Bill, which is Assembly Bill 1674, which will ban buying more than one firearm within a 30-day period. For anybody that doesn't know, in the state of California, you are limited to the purchase of one firearm in the term of a handgun or a long gun. The handgun is one per every 30-day period. Long guns, you can buy as many as you want. They're going to go ahead and eliminate that and say you are only going to be able to purchase one firearm in a 30-day period. Handgun, long gun, shotgun, doesn't matter. So that's a further infringement on a person's Second Amendment right. Yeah, okay. And then you have Assembly Bill 1695, basically, which says that the state will already begin to send mailers reminding gun owners that they have to comply with these bills once they pass and floor votes and become law. Because you can say that California has what's called the rubber stamp assembly. Any initiative that a Democratic governor sends down or basically promotes from on high, the assembly will go ahead and run it through its committee process and will get it passed, and we'll get it to a floor vote and most likely to become law. So, I honestly, all the trouble that California has, if you value your right to legally own a firearm in that state, I don't understand how
if you value your right to not be taxed out the ass.
Well, that's the other thing. No one in California ever says anything about the wages being too high. Is because the cost of living is just as high. It's nothing for somebody to make $80,000 a year in California and be considered low income, because what? The cost of living there is exorbitantly high.
Well, your sister has an apartment in California that costs like $1,300 a month for a studio.
Dumbass.
Yeah, well, all right.
At that point, she ceases to be my sister and becomes your sister.
You cannot blame that shit on me. All right, so let's
blame that shit on the man, personally.
All right, so
Mom, if you're listening, you got to come clean sometime.
Yeah, here's the bonus: Mom never listens. All right,
I feel then, huh?
All right, so let's get on with more California debauchery here. There's two more bills that made it in.
Well, I see that Assembly Bill 1663, which would have banned the M1 carbine and many of the other basically battle rifles for World War II and rearward, was killed in committee. So, yeah, I mean that's a small victory, but those are the four bills that I've seen getting ready to get sent down. They're going to be on the floor for a vote in the California legislature on let's see here, the week of 30th May. So any time this week, hey, if you're a gun owner in California, contact your assemblyman, contact your state senator.
write letters to your representatives because it works so well.
Well,
It
I don't
works
know that it works so
awesome.
well there. Other
Doesn't work,
places it
and
does.
it doesn't work anywhere.
Well, I don't
It
know.
doesn't work.
Think about it this way.
That's for you. But you were in a completely different situation than most Americans, and we can go into that
What
real
do you
quick.
say about the ATF's intention to ban the 5.56? You know, they attempted to do that just by rewriting a regulation.
That's right, and I don't think that it was necessarily the letters that they received. I think it was the outrageous public outcry on every website, any kind of forum, any sort of internet outlet, any sort of radio outlet that had anything to do with firearms. I think that's where that pressure came from. I don't think it was honestly. I think if they get letters, they rip them up. I don't think they fucking read a word of them, and if they do, they don't care. They read it and go, ha, look at how this guy spells, and they give it to their friends, and they all laugh. Yeah, no, I don't trust these sons of bitches, not one bit.
No.
And then,
thankfully enough, you know where I live there, so.
Right, well, and I won't live there. But this California gun situation is really kind of brought up an interesting point. California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom could be considered. Well, I'd consider him a modern Bolshevik in this land, and he happens to garner his support from non-traditional members of society. All right, so that is the LGBTQ crowd, or whatever they're called now.
You forgot a couple letters.
I forgot a couple letters in that one, and I just don't know them, and I probably used the wrong pronoun and all that kind of shit.
All right, you have to go gender neutral. Gender divisive.
A homosexual firearms organization called the Pink Pistols that has now taken umbrage to these outrageous California laws, and I find it funny, but I find it also to be the absolute truth. They've got an advertisement right now with a transsexual, or I don't know, whatever. It's a guy that's dressed up like a woman or looks like a woman somewhat. She doesn't look like a woman.
She
Looks like
has long hair. I'll put it that way.
A dude with long hair and a dress. All right, and the message is if the pistols are banned, how will this transsexual be able to defend themselves? And I find that to be. I mean, it's a very true concept, but at the same time, the gun rights only matter when the transsexuals are fucking offended and possibly inconvenienced, but everybody else who does everything correct and lives life the right way, no, you don't get to have a gun.
Yeah, no.
Newsom
has replied saying that using the trans community to fight your battle of lies is arguably one of the most disgusting things you have ever done. Well,
he would be the guy
at all.
Things, doesn't he?
Yeah. Gavin for those who don't remember, Gavin Newsom about it, 10 years ago was one of the mayors in the United States who
Mayor of San Francisco.
Right, mayor of the city of San Francisco, who directed his state or his city administrators to start issuing marriage licenses for same-sex couples. Folks like Rosie O'Donnell showed up to go get a same-sex marriage license right off the bat, and was overturned. This was during the term of the governator, and these same-sex marriage licenses were overturned.
And the governor, he's no friend of firearms either.
Oh no! He's just out there for a good buck, and as long as movies have explosions, he's in them.
None of these elected officials are in your corner. None of them want you to have a firearm because, honestly, you are a threat to them. If you have a firearm, you have a way to say, no, I do not comply. And they do not want that at all. They want you to comply. You will comply.
Yes, citizen.
That's right. That's what it is. It's become we are living in, a combination of 1984 and a brave new world at this point. I mean, we've got the newspeak, we've got the Ministry of Information. I mean, what else do we need?
Yeah.
I mean, we're making babies in test tubes.
Well, I can tell you what we need, and that would be a 1911 made out of meteorites.
That is a pretty nifty item. That's kind of rare.
I would say so. Yes. This is basically it's a 1911 .45 caliber pistol made by Cabo Guns, and basically it's made from a chunk of a meteorite that fell from outer space and landed in Namibia in Africa and was found in 1836. It's basically a huge chunk of iron.
And they took that, they refined it, melted it down, and they've made a series of 1911s, and they're not cheap.
No,
they are not cheap. They're about $1 million a piece.
I think they kind of reflect the they reflect
the scarcity of the material.
Yes, and this is it's a pair of pistols.
Just keep in mind, for the price of one meteorite pistol, you could buy 4 of George Zimmerman's pistols,
provided they had the same history. I think.
Well, yeah.
So this is dubbed the Big Bang set, and there's a video out there that basically came out at the 2016 NRA convention that talks about the pistols, and they have an interesting appearance. Some decidedly American features, and the pistols themselves retain some of the interesting formations on the slide or the upper receiver of the pistol. And the way I could kind of equate it to, it's almost like a Damascus type. If anybody's familiar with knife, bladesmithing or anything like that, the way Damascus steel has a profile. This is similar, although it looks kind of similar to what like a liquid metal from a Terminator movie would be like. I guess has that.
It's really a nifty piece, and they're charging like it's a nifty piece.
Oh yeah,
and
they're not charging like it's a nifty piece. They're charging like it's the only thing on the planet.
And very much so, very much so. And that kind of brings an interesting subject up, considering that we, in this same process of discussing this prohibitively expensive firearm, and then comparing that with the Zimmerman pistol, which is honestly a piece of shit firearm. If you were to own these pistols, these would not be the pistols that you use to defend your house with if you've got another option. And as we saw with the Zimmerman case, and I'm sure it happens with many other cases, if you use a firearm in self-defense, that firearm will be taken by the police.
Not only will it be taken by the police, depending upon the level of angst and outrage and the appropriate color of skin of the person who was shot and killed, that may be taken by the FBI, and the Department of Justice may decide to pursue a federal case. So, yeah.
The thing is the pistol's not going to be cared for in the same manner that you would care for.
Oh, absolutely not.
It'll come back disfigured. It'll have a case number written on it. It may not have been stored correctly, and it'll come back rusty. It may have been dropped several times in the process of being taken to storage.
Right. Well,
not looking out for your benefit there.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, the sad thing is that anybody that has ever had to try and recover a firearm from a law enforcement agency will tell you I was going to say they will tell you a tale of woe that would not restore any faith in any kind of law enforcement agency.
I've actually had to recover some pistols from law enforcement, and I'll tell you, they do everything to not give them back to you.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
They make it very, very difficult. And I mean, difficult to the point of where, okay, you finally got everything taken care of, and you are scheduled to meet this officer at 1:30 so you can pick up your firearms, and you've got everything that you possibly need. driver's license, a background check, a note from your mom, a stool sample, and guess what? 1:30, the cop's not there.
Yeah, you know what? He had a meeting at the State Police Academy.
Right. He had a meeting at the Dunkin' Donuts, and there's just nothing you can do. There's not a damn thing you can do except wait.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons why it may have been so easy for the zookeepers in Ohio to shoot down Harambe was like guns just became easier to purchase in Ohio, according to Cincinnati.com. The state will no longer require background checks for people purchasing firearms if they already have a valid concealed carry permit.
And more power to them. All right, finally, you guys did something right over there.
Right. So people who have previously passed background checks for a concealed carry license after March 23rd, 2015, no longer be subjected to the background check process every time they buy a gun. So this says that this is the 25th state to seek and get a federal exemption. So that would mean to me that half the states in the union basically say that if you have a concealed carry permit, you do not you do not need to get an additional background check. Therefore, following the logic that the Supreme Court has used to decide cases such as the same-sex or homosexual sexual marriage, if the majority of states issue licenses in that regard, then all states have to do it. So would you say that this is a possibility, since you are one state away from a majority seeking a exemption, that by definition they would have to follow the same process?
Well, that's the way it would work if we were doing things the right way. If we were going to follow precedents that have been set, but that's just not how it works. And let's take a look at New Hampshire. New Hampshire's governor, again, vetoed the constitutional carry. Constitutional carry is the open carry with no permit, no license, no fee to the state. It's your constitutional right. It's what's given to you in the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights. And once again, you've got government stepping all over your toes.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is no more system of checks and balances. There is only the system of I do what I want. And
do what the party tells you, comrade.
Yeah. So she vetoed House Bill 582, and basically it would have retained the state's concealed carry permit system that's been in place since 1923, while making it optional if the carrier is an adult to legally able to possess a firearm. So the constitutional carry is basically in 10 states. Unfortunately, one of the states that I reside in, and I can tell you it's nice to be able to wear a firearm on my hip if I so choose, and not have to worry about it.
And a lot of people want to know why. What's the big deal about wearing it on your hip? Are you trying to show your penis off to somebody or something like that? No.
No,
Honestly,
absolutely.
I see the open carry of a firearm to not only be part of your constitutional rights, but I also see it as part of an economic play. And it would be the soft bigotry of low expectations for the poorer class. Because honestly, okay, you carry a pistol exposed, and you carry a full size in 1911. Is that correct?
Say that again. I could barely hear you.
I said you carry a firearm exposed in the constitutional carry manner, and you use a full size 1911.
That is correct.
All right. That is a full-size service-framed pistol. It's not small. It's not necessarily the most concealable item in the world.
No,
it
point,
carries much better.
I'm not trying to conceal that.
Right, and it carries much better in a hip holster, an outside the waistband, whatever kind of hip holster, than it carries in an inside the waistband, a more concealed carry holster.
That's correct.
Concealed carry pistols usually end up being a lot smaller and a lot more expensive. This is kind of, if you, I don't know exactly how to express that, but the inability to have the concealed weapon is, well, it's got a lot to do with the economics of it, and that kind of gets us back with the whole ring of fire guns and the firearms that are too cheap, that don't pass, like, what is it? Minnesota's got a melt test, right? That a firearm has to be able to withstand a certain heat for a certain temperature. Well, that doesn't work for Glocks. That doesn't work for Glocks or any of the polymer frame pistols at all. That law was basically enacted to put some sort of, quote unquote, control over zinc alloyed framed pistols. They have a lower melting temperature and usually are a lot cheaper. They're usually lower quality pistols, but they work. It's just this another episode of the class divide coming in. You're not wealthy enough.
No.
To carry that.
That is true. So one of the other stories we have out there is, do you remember the shooting that occurred in the Fisherman's Wharf area of San Francisco a few years back?
Is that the one that was done by the illegal alien holding using the sanctuary city thing, and he stole the gun from I think it was Border Patrol or something?
No. That is the case. However, it was a pistol that he claimed to have found wrapped in a T-shirt on the bench, which ended up being from a Bureau of Land Management officer, and it was a Sig Sauer P239, and it was in .40 caliber. The officer claims that it was stolen from his vehicle, although the Bureau of Land Management has failed to identify the officer involved. So basically, the killer of Kate Steinle is a non-U.S. citizen named Juan Francisco Lopez Sanchez from Mexico, and he has 7 felonies. Those are convictions, by the way. Those aren't just charges. 5 deportations under his belt, and he was allowed to stay in the city of San Francisco after the former sheriff declined to hold him on a retainer for ICE to go ahead and pick him up and deport him.
That almost sounds like the Steinle family has a case against the legislators for enabling this.
Well, it's a 26-page lawsuit, and basically it was filed in the district court for the Northern District of California. Claims the general and public entity negligence in the wrongful death. They named the Bureau of Land Management, Immigration's Customs Enforcement, the City and County of San Francisco, Ross Mercarimi, the former sheriff of San Francisco City and County, and the alleged murderer, because you can't say that it's proven yet, I guess, for some reason. Those are all named as defendants. Basically, what you've got here is you got extremely gross negligence. You've got an individual who did not report that his service pistol was missing or was stolen, whatever you want to call it. He did not maintain positive control of his firearm and did not report it. Never.
In San Francisco, this isn't the only time this happens in San Francisco. We covered something about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, that showed that San Francisco is awash in crime, and to the point where it's affecting the tourism. And I've got another story. Yesterday, an FBI agent's badge and a gun were stolen after his car was broken into in Alamo Square in San Francisco. So we've got basically law enforcement providing firearms to the criminals.
When would that have ever happened before?
I don't know, Fast and Furious. So anyways, this guy
said that fast and in a furious tone.
I said that fast and furious, and I was also taking
You're
back
not
a
talking about
line.
the movie, are you?
I'm not. So this FBI agent lost a 40 caliber Glock along with his ID badge and credentials, and it comes on the heels of a trio of homeless drifters in October that stole a gun from a civilian's parked car and used it to kill a backpacker and a tantric yoga instructor. The Steinley killing. Yeah, watch your ass in San Francisco in more than one way.
Yeah, so the FBI firearm that was stolen was a Glock Model 27 in 40 caliber. However, that was recovered, but his credentials are still missing.
And the Glock 27 is it's one of the subcompact Glocks. It's a double stack that's got the short, I believe it's a 3.5 inch barrel, and in the 9 millimeter equivalent is the 26. That carries, I believe it carries 10 rounds in the 26, and I think the 27 carries 9 rounds. They're quite popular. I think they're a wonderful design. I find it odd that they're carrying 40 when just like over a year ago we found that the FBI was going back to 9 millimeter because they found it to be a far more effective round than the 40 cal.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's between the different police departments and agencies that have gone back and forth between the 40 caliber and the 9 millimeter. I don't think you're going to see anybody get on board with the same caliber anytime soon. Put it this way, we can't even share intelligence between government agencies without getting, probably about 3,000 Americans killed at one point. So why should you think that we can able to go between the same caliber of firearm?
So really stupid me, huh?
Yeah.
What
were you thinking?
Really? All right, so I want to get into something that happens here in the great state of Texas, and something that's near and dear to our hearts, and that is home defense.
Ooh,
and
that's what I'm talking about.
We've got New Orleans Pelican point guard Bryce DeJean Jones committed we would
call it breaking and entering.
A breaking and entering, home invasion, assault and battery, and he paid the ultimate price for it. He got shot and killed.
Go Castle Doctrine.
Don't be breaking into anybody's house. Don't be kicking in your door. And this goes, the reason why I bring this up, not to celebrate this guy's death, but to illustrate what I see to be the double standard in the media. This story has been sort of a popular story in my area for the past couple of days, and a lot of heartbreak and outrage, and this promising young man and all the usual didn't do nothing and all that bullshit. Well, he broke into somebody's house, and the news likes to say, "Oh, he came to the wrong house." Well, fucking A, he came to the wrong house. He got shot.
Yeah. How did he come, Michael? How did he come to find himself attempting to enter the wrong house?
Well, after he kicked down the first door and entered the home, he went back to the bedroom where the homeowner was and proceeded to kick in that door and then received his gift of lead.
Right. So at one point, I read a story that has since been retracted that let it be known that the individual who is now deceased was under the influence of some mind-altering substance prior to, having his internal air conditioning opened up.
Well, and see, then we get into all kinds of stories about this because it turns out that, I shouldn't say it turns out, but the prevailing story is that he was actually looking for his ex-girlfriend's house.
Right, who had been in conflict with earlier that night.
Right, and proceeded to decide he was going to go in there and do some domestic violence because obviously kicking in a door is so much nicer than knocking.
Where is that NBC sports guy or whatever? Oh gosh, Mr. I can get on TV in the middle of Monday Night Football and tell you about how bad guns are. What's that dude's name?
What was his name?
Yeah, see, he's so irrelevant anymore. He's Mr. Pink Eye from the Olympics.
Basically, yeah, and I'm waiting for the NBA. And I'd like to see which felon they pull out of the NBA to give the anti-gun message this year.
Yeah.
Maybe they could get Snoop Dogg, who's been convicted of fucking murder, to give the anti-gun message.
Well, Snoop Dogg's just chilling these days. All he's into is to wheeling pot and saying that nobody should watch Roots.
And I'm kind of with the Snoop Dogg on that. On both them counts. Smoke pot and don't watch Roots.
Yeah. So I want to bring us into something that's a little bit more gun centric. For the last couple shows, I've been throwing a teaser up there that I would be at some point completing my latest rifle build. And
you need a drum.
Yeah, drum roll, please. Yesterday, I was able to purchase the rail for my latest build, which is a 223 Wild, and it is a Midwest Industries Generation 1 15-inch rail. So thank you, Midwest Industries, for allowing me to take advantage of your military and law enforcement pricing. This piece actually runs in the $210 range, and I was able to make a purchase for significantly less than that. So a big thank you to Midwest Industries. It's a quality product. I do have another one that I've put on a previous rifle build, and I can say that I am entirely pleased with it. The weight is probably about 17 ounces. And I will say that complements the rifle nicely. The other one is sitting on a 300 Blackout, and muzzle rise is mitigated with the added weight at the front end of the weapon. So, very happy to make this purchase, and saved my pennies, as they say. I think.
Okay, so let's talk about this rail. What's the rail made out of?
So basically, it's the same thing. It's a 6061 aluminum. It's hard coat anodized. So basically, it's going to be protected from rust. It's going to be protected from marring and such. Basically, the inner diameter is 1.75 inches, so it's going to accommodate my low profile gas block and gas tube. And for the reason I went with the 15-inch length is that's going to give me the longest sight base that I can go ahead and attach my front sight almost up to the end of the end of the barrel, and I think I'll have maybe an inch and a half beyond the end of the rail before I get to my muzzle device.
I kind of like the idea of having the longer sight radius, and that was kind of pioneered by Delton with the Delton Dissipator, which was an AR-15 that moved that front sight block all the way out to the muzzle, right before the muzzle break,
right,
and giving you that much sight radius.
Yeah. So what folks, if you're not super familiar with the AR, people see the standard M4 or the M16A2. They have a front sight block that is integrated to hold the gas tube, and that's anywhere from 7 to 10 inches on the rifle, usually about 7 inches, and you have about another 7 to 8 inches of barrel going beyond that. So you've got a fairly short sight picture between the rear sight and the front sight aperture, and you'll be able to be accurate, but the longer you put distance,
your sight radius is, the more accurate you will become. It's
right.
It goes back to the high school math that none of us ever paid attention to. But yeah, it's right in there.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about this rail. So a rail differs from a handguard in the fact that you can attach certain things to it. What sort of attachments do you have? Is it would it be like a standard Picatinny rail? Would it be is it like a key mod or
so? So I just dropped a link in chat. Basically, what you're looking at, this is a generation 1. We call first generation rail. So this is a quad rail. You're going to have Picatinny or the mill standard rails at the 12, 3, 6, and 9 positions. So you can go ahead and attach things like a bipod. You can attach a scope. You can attach a light. You can attach whatever it is to your heart's desire. And since this is the 15-inch version, You could attach many different things all the way up and down the rail. Now, obviously, the first thing that I'm going to put on there is the front sight, which I've already previously purchased, and that will go up to the end of the T-marks on the top rail. Um, and then, when it comes down to it, I'm just kind of play it by ear and see what I see, and kind of save the money and use it on ammo. I'm not going to go ahead and put anything else on there. Maybe at some point I'll put a bipod on there, whether it's a grip pod or something else. But in the meantime, my goal is just to get this completed and finished.
Up and shooting. That's a good thing.
Yep. So when you take a look at the difference between the handguard of the M16, whether it's you're talking the M16A1 with the triangular handguard or the M16A2 with the kind of the oblong handguards, the main difference is that those handguards were not designed to hold attachments in mind. Some on the M16A2, there were some aftermarket design changes that allowed to have the Picatinny rails put on to the handguard, which would allow you to go ahead and affix some things like whether it's a starlight scope or something else like that. But in its design, those were not, specifically made to handle attachments, where the Picatinny rail system is designed to do that.
How do you feel about the key mod?
So the key mod,
right?
you actually have a couple different kinds. You have the key mod and you have the M-lock. And basically what these are second and third generation rail systems that allow you to modularly set up that rail based on shooter's preference. Some shooters don't want to have the full length rail system with the different Picatinny slots because they say, hey, it adds unnecessary weight. Some people want just a very slim, very lightweight rail. It's all personal preference. And the way I look at it is that if the Picatinny rail wasn't as good as it is, number one, the military wouldn't still be using it, and number two, I want more weight at the end of the barrel. I am used to, for the last 20 years, carrying a rifle that weighs anywhere between 9 and 12 pounds, depending upon the attachments. A few more ounces in the sense that it's going to keep the muzzle rise as a minimum is not going to bother me.
Well, it's exactly what you want, and it's something that you've been working on, and congratulations for getting it done. I don't know if you remember, but I had the Project shotgun, the Savage, or it was a Savage 311 double barrel 12 gauge that I had been trying to fix the stock, and the stock never really worked it with my repair. I was able to find a replacement stock online, and I'll probably be trying to order that here in the next week. And it's a little bit more than I want to pay for it, but it puts the shotgun back into use, and it's going to be about $86. So I'll get that, and I'll get a picture and throw that into chat. I'll be happy with that. That'll probably end up being a truck gun as time goes by.
Yeah. Well, take a look at this. I am going to drop something into chat, and I think that I want to nominate this as the gun of the week. And what it is the Ruger Precision Rifle. I actually got a question from a friend of the show, Oddball, about what to possibly replace his M1A with. And he's shot an
Why
M1A.
is he replacing the M1 that he just bought?
Well, because it's not exactly shooting the way that he had hoped, and being that it is a semi-automatic rifle, you're going to get at some point questionable precision. The accuracy does suffer just on the premise of it being semi-automatic, using recycled gas from the shell to go ahead and cycle the next round. He wants something that's going to be a modular tactical rifle, and I think that the Ruger Precision Rifle is a good way to go. And you'll take a look at it, and it has a key mod stock. I'm sorry, not a key mod rail system along the barrel, in addition to having the Picatinny rail up top, just like an AR does. And then you also have a muzzle brake, and you'll have an adjustable comb stock that also has the adjustable butt plate, so you can use that to adjust your your length of pull. It does what it says it does. The CEO of Ruger Firearms, Mark Pfeiffer, says 1,600 yards. Enough said. And who doesn't need to shoot 1,600 yards?
1,600 yards is a good one. That's about a mile, isn't it?
So I think it was
1,700.
1,700.
We are not doing
feet,
that.
something like that. Yeah, right. Or 1,752. I don't know. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
5,052 feet or something like that.
Oh God, it's been a while since I've been in math. So
we are not doing math on this show. And you know what? Screw the metric system.
So I wanted to also give a big shout out to one of my hunting buddies here, who shall remain nameless. He gave me a 40 millimeter ammo can that had what he said was just some old brass. Lo and behold, I find 22 ammo and a couple 30-06 rounds in there. So woohoo!
All right, good for you. That's a score.
Yeah, and it is a couple 30-06 rounds with a black polymer tip, so that ammo was not cheap.
No. Pretty much, and 30-06 usually comes out to be, even the cheap stuff usually comes out to be at least 50 cents a round.
Oh,
so yeah, you got a couple little bonuses in there.
Yep. So one of the other listeners dropped me a picture from the local Gander Mountain out here. Actually, I have a listener in my home area. He went and saw at the Gander Mountain that they had the 525 round brick of Golden Bullet, and it was $34.99. I went back to look today. Gone.
That's okay. It was Golden Bullet, and they are not made out of gold.
No,
I'll tell you that.
No, they're not.
Golden Bullet is fairly dirty. It's not necessarily a plated bullet. It's got some sort of, I guess it's a sintered golden brass colored coating on it. So it's not necessarily a plated bullet. I find them to be dirty. They've got a fair number of misfires. Not anything. I shouldn't say a fair number. They've got their share of misfires, just like any other non-premium 22 long rifle. But I mean, it's good stuff for a revolver. It works great in a 10-22. I'm not sure about like the little AR-15 clones because those take a high velocity round. So yeah, good luck with those. I wouldn't buy. I'm not necessarily a fan of the Golden Bullet anymore.
Yeah,
I was when it came out.
The only thing that we do see is the Remington Ely 22, which is $19 for 50 rounds, and then the RWS ammo, the match ammo for $9.99. That is the only thing on the shelf in the 22, and they are conveniently located right next to the 17 HMR ammo that they seem to never run out of.
There's a reason for that. Okay, we got to hit the 4 rules here real quick.
All right.
Rule number 1, every firearm is loaded until you physically and visually ensure that it is not loaded. So open up that action, crack it open, pull that bolt back, drop that magazine, make sure that gun is unloaded until you're ready for it. Rule number 2, keep that muzzle pointed downrange at all times. Don't cover anything you do not wish to destroy. Rule number 3, know what is your target, know what is beyond your target at all times. And the most important rule of all, nothing happens without this rule being violated. Keep your booger hook off the bang switch until you are ready to discharge the weapon.
There you go. Can't go wrong if you follow those 4 rules of firearm safety. So take that as good advice, folks.
That's pretty much it. I'll tell you what, we are starting now to get the great big Texas rains that I guess have been coming in. It's starting to pour right now.
Yeah, I can hear it. So hey, I just wanted to drop out there that Walmart has had a previous self-imposed ban on the sales of modern sporting rifles, and a customer in a Walmart in Oklahoma posted a photo of a Ruger ranch rifle Mini 14 in stock for sale. So be on the lookout, folks.
If you're into it, that Ruger Mini 14 is a good rifle. It's a little expensive, and I'm not necessarily a fan of the magazines, but it's a good rifle. And yeah,
Michael, we got to go, man. Bumpers on.
All right. Nick, I appreciate you being here. Everybody, thanks for listening. UCY.TV, stick around.